This is Gemara Megillah Daf Yud Gimel. All the learning for the month of Teves has been generously sponsored by a closer friend of the Daf, the Zecher Nishmas, his father of Arleib and Rav Yaakov Zatzal, whose Yartzeit was the beginning of this month in Aleph Teves. The learning the entire Chabur should be a tremendous chos ila neshama. As well as we'd like to dedicate today's Daf as a close friend of the Daf, dedicating yesterday's Daf Chav Teves Lili Nishmas Yosef ben Nachman Chaim Halevi. And again today we like today's Daf as well to be a tremendous chos ila neshama for Rav Yosef ben Rav Nachman Chaim Halevi. The learning the entire Chabura should bring him up to an incredibly high place in Gan Eden Shalmayla. As well as all the learning Shabri as Chos Shidduch, that all those who need a Shidduch should find their Shidduch by Kara Imamish. Yisrael Chaim in the version Mimbras, he's a Giddush al Sushanda Bashan Makal, Mordechai Bezavashin, the Sikibas of Shin, the Shema ben Chaya, Shlomo ben Libby Zahava. As well as it should be a Chos Fru Shlema, that you should have a complete recovery, Shmuel Yitzman, and your faith, Shmuel and many Vega, Chaim and Sarj, Shamdin, Reis, Zarbas, Kanadi, the Basim, Chayisai, Sol, Mental, Yazaver, the Shalei, Shlomo, as Nami, Shavi, Shechana, Shmuel ben Til, Dino, Khan, Reis, Mchai, Bazina, Dinin, Mashin, Vindas, Vim, Rivka, was Hashem, that was even the last time, Ben Yaakov, Besoich Shar, Chali Yisrael, we're middle of the Megillah, Vesachtas Megillah, we're middle of going through pasuk by pasuk, concept by concept, darshaning, learning of the Megillah, an incredible way to prepare for Purim. We'll learn it today, and hopefully as we get closer to Purim, we'll all earmark Daf, Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, and we'll be able to come back in Chazer before Purim. But we pick it up on Yud Beis and Yud Beis, we're 3 lines into the very wide lines, up to a pasuk that we lean out loud at the Megillah. Says the Gemara, Ish Yehudi Haya b'Shushan Habira. There was a man in Shushan Habira Ish Yemini, a man from Binyamin's tribe, from Sheva Binyamin. Says the Gemara, Maika Amar, what exactly is this pasuk teaching us? If it's coming to teach us Mordechai's yichos, liyachsei v'azal Binyamin, it should trace it all the way back up to Binyamin. Elamai shana, honey, tani, elamai shana, honey. Why does the list of these specific yichos of Mordechai and it doesn't go all the way up? Answers the Gemara again. We're now 7 lines from the bottom of Yebez Mebez. Tana Kulan al Shemai. We're learning, the Brisa learns that all the names that said in the pasuk Yair, Shimi, and Kish are all referring to Mordechai himself. Nikra ben Yair ben Shahayir, a name Shal Yisrael. What's Yair? That he opened up and he lightened the eyes of Klal Yisrael b'tfilasai through his prayers. Ben Shemi ben Sheshama el tfilasai. What does that refer to? That his tefillos were listened to. Ben Kish Hekish al Shari Rachamim. He knocked, he banged on the doors of mercy, and it was opened up for Mordechai HaTzadik. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Karle Yehudi Alma Me Yehuda Kasi. But Karle Yemini Alma Binyamin Kasi. What's going on over here? Where did Mordechai come from? Did he come from Yehuda or did he come from Binyamin? Amar Rav Nachman, 4 lines from the bottom. Mordechai Mukhtar B'ni Musa Yahya. Says the Gemara, Mordechai was crowned with his names. He had both the names of his father and his mother, Shvatim, and that's what Binyamin and Yehuda was. And now the Gemara explains, Amar Rabbi Rachana, Rav Yeshua ben Levi, of mi Binyamin, v'imay mi Yehuda. V'Rabbanan Amri, Yasekim Sham, Mishpachas Mizgares, Azu Bezu, says the Rabbanan know slightly different. The families of Yehuda and the families of Binyamin, they would always fight for each other, because they wanted to say, Mordechai is from us. Mishpachas Yehuda, Imeres, Anagaris, Islam in Mordechai. We caused that Mordechai should be born. Why? Because we caused that David did not kill Shimi ben Gira, who's where Mordechai came from. They would say, Minoi Gasi, he came from us. And that's the reason why it traced it back to both Yehuda and Binyamin, as they both used to fight and say, Mordechai is indeed our pride and joy. Rava Amar, a third pshat, Knesset Yisrael Amra, said Rava, Knesset Klal Yisrael itself said the exact opposite. Not that there was a credit that Mordechai came from Yehuda and Binyamin, the Idach said the opposite. Yehudi, Umashilim the Yamini. They learned the opposite, that it's a negative, it's a derogatory statement. Look what happened from Yehuda and Binyamin. Now the Gemara explains, Masli Yehudi, what does that mean as we turn over to today's Daf Yomi and Aleph? What happened? David did not kill Shemi, Disyalad Mine Mordechai. Why? Demakni Be Haman. And of course, many people I'm sure have heard that if we were living at the time of the Purim, we would be on the team saying, oh, Mordechai, you're risking ruin Klal Yisrael's life. You're inciting Haman. How could you do that? Everything looks so terrible. So they said, you caused this Mordechai that's destroying Klal Yisrael. Why? Because they didn't kill David, didn't kill Shemi Agera. Umashilam they Yamini, and they blamed it on Binyamin as well. So Kazli Shaul Agag, because Shaul did not kill Agag, and Tzitzal Mine Haman, and that's where Haman came from, the Mitzar Yisrael that caused pain to Klal Yisrael. Says the Gemara, a fourth way of learning what the pasuk is referring to, that Mordechai is both from Yehuda and Binyamin, 4 lines on the top of Yekimel Amar Aleph, Rav Yechon Amar Leila mi Binyamin Kaasi. Really, he came from Binyamin. But my Karli Yehudi al Shem Shekafar ba'avodah zara, because he denied avodah zara shekolai kaiver, but the zara Nikra Yehudi is called the Yehudi Kedasiv, as the pasuk says, Itin Kaiverin Yehudai, that those Chananim Mishal v'Azariah, they didn't serve the idol, so they are called Yehudai. Says the Gemara. Now we continue on this theme of someone who doesn't serve avodah zara is called a Yehudi. Of course, we know this all the way back from the original term of Yehudi in Chumash. Rav Shimon Pazi, Kavi Pascha, B'divrei Hayamim, when he would darshan in Divrei Hayamim, we're on the first white line, Amar Hachi would say as follows, called Varecha Echad Heim. He would say, all the words of Ksuvim are all one. The Anu Yaidin L'Darshan, and we know how to darshan them. It all refers to one person. We don't necessarily see this in the Psukim, but when you carefully analyze the Psukim, says Rav Shimon Pazi, we know what's going on. And now the Gemara explains what exactly is Rav Shimon Pazi talking about in the second white line. Ve'ishto ha'yudiya yalda. The pasuk says, Isha yudiya yalda, what does she give birth to? As Yared Avi Gadar, that she gave birth to Yared, the father of Gadar, and Ves Chaver, the person named Chaver, who was whom? Avi Shoichai. Ves Yukasil, a third person, Avi Zanayach. Ve'elu b'nei Basya Basparai, and these are the daughters of Basia, the daughter of Parai, Shalokach Mered, that Mered married. Now, Shimon Bazi says, let's go into this pasuk exactly what's going on over here. My Karle Yudai. Why does the pasuk call her Yudai? It says V'ishtoi HaYudai. Al Shem Shekafra B'avodah zara, because Basia Bas Parai. Again, the incredible Siyata Dishmai. This is this week's parsha. Basia Bas Parai, she denied that Avodah zara. The Chsev V'teired Bas Parai Lirchas Al Nahar, as the pasuk says, that the daughter of Paro went to bathe by the river, and we learn out from this from Rav Yechon Sheyarda Lerchais Megluli Beis Avia, that she went to wash herself and cleanse herself from the shekutzim, from the avodah zara of her father's house. Ask the Gemara 1 second. Yalda, did Basya give birth to Moshe? For Ribui Rabose, she only raised him. This teaches us a fascinating and incredible lesson. Whoever raises an orphan in their house, it's as if you gave born to them. Now we continue the darshan the pasuk. That what does the pasuk mean when it says Yered? That refers to Moshe Rabbeinu himself. Because he brought down the man in his days. Gedor Shegader Yisrael. As well, another one of Moshe's names is Geder. Why? Because he fenced in all the breaches in Klal Yisrael. Chaver, a third name of Moshe Rabbeinu. Shechiva Yisrael Avin Shvashamayim. He connected us to our Father in heaven. And a fourth name, Soichai Shenaslem Yisrael Kesukah. He made Klal Yisrael like a protective covering. You could see a fifth name of Moshe Rabbeinu, Shekavu Yisrael El Biyamav, that he connected us. And then we looked with hope to our father in his days, and finally, Zanayach, the name of Moshe Rabbeinu, Shezniach Avnaisein Shal Yisrael, that he cast off all the Aveiros, because Moshe Rabbeinu David, and Hashem forgave Klal. So the 6 names plus the 7th, of course, the name Moshe Rabbeinu. And continues Rav Shimon Bazi, and again, this is the drasha of this pasuk that we brought down in the second white line, a pasuk from Ksuvim. Avi, says the pasuk, says he's the Avi of Geder, the father of Geder, the Avi of Seicha, the Avi of Zanayach, the father of all these things. What's his teaching us? What's Moshe Rabbeinu? Av b'Torah, Av b'Chachma, Av b'Nevius. He was a father in Torah, wisdom and prophecy. V'elu b'nei Basya. And now Rav Shimon Bazi quotes another pasuk and says that these are the daughters of Basya. Asher lokach Mered, that Mered talk. Actually, this is the end of the pasuk. V'chei Mered, Shammai was his name. Mered v'alei Kelev Shammai. Ask the Gemara, Kelev was his name. Says the Gemara, Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, Yolav Kelev Shamarad ba'atas meraglim like Kalev. That he rebelled and he fought against the Meraglim. For he says Bas Parai Shamar the Beguli Bisavia, and Mary Bas Parai, the daughter of Parai, that rebelled against the idols of her father's house. And we continue. Now we're back to the Megillah. So that was a little bit of a segue into the different psukim and ksuvim. And now we get back. We'll call it the main show darshening up the Megillah. Asher Hagla Yerushalayim. We're about 15 lines into the white lines. The first one line is May Yerushalayim. Amar Rava Shegala Miatzmai. Rava teaches us that Mordechai went into Galus on his own, and he wasn't forced. Vahi Oymen es Hadassah, and the pasuk continues, and Mordechai raised Hadassah, referring to Esther. Says the Gemara, Karle Hadassah v'Karle Esther. She had both names. Tanya Rameir Oymer Esther Shema v'lam nikr Shema Hadassah. Al Shem Atzadikim. She was called Hadassah because Sadikim Shenikru Adasim are called Adasim myrtles. V'cheinu Omer, we find similarly V'omer bin Adasim standing amongst Adasim. Rav Yehuda Omer Adasa Shema. The opposite, her name was Adasim. Like Shema Esther. Shem Shayam Asteres Dibarea. She concealed her word. Shenemar in Esther Magedas Azama. V'goymer Esther did not tell anyone what nation she was from. Ram Nechemia Omer Adasa Shema. Third shot. V'lamnikra Esther Shayahumay Sa'ilim Karnai Shum Estoher. Because the nations of the world called her Esther. Why? Because after Astaher, after the moon, she was as beautiful as the moon. And the fourth pshat, Ben Azay Omer Esther lo yaruchav like Sarah Yisrael beinin is kadasa. Esther she wasn't too tall, she wasn't too short, she was perfectly in the middle, like a Hadassah, like a murder. And the fifth shot, Rav Yeshua ben Karchaimer Esther Yerakri Zaisa, she was green. V'chusha chesed mashach aleh, but yet Hashem gave her a touch of grace. Hashem made everyone who saw her loved her. And now we continue with the psukim of the Megillah. We're probably about 20 lines from the bottom, smack in the middle of these wide lines on Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. The first one line is ki ein la'ava ve'im, that the pasuk in Megillah says that Esther did not have a father or a mother, and the pasuk says u'b'mais avia v'ima, and when her father and mother had died. Lamali, why do we need that pasuk? Amaravacha Ivarta Mesavia, when she was conceived, her father died. Yaldasa, when she was given birth, Mesa Ima, her mother died. Mesavia v'ima, and after the death of her father and mother, Locha Mordechai Leilabas. When Mordechai took her as a daughter, explains the Gemara, Tanam Mishum Rameir, I'll take her Labas. It doesn't mean that Mordechai took her for a daughter. Ella Labayis for a house. Mordechai married her. V'cheinu Omer, and that's what we see in the pasuk L'rash Ein. As the pasuk says, "Ularash ein kol ki im kavsa achas ketana," and the poor man had nothing aside from one keves, one little sheep, asher kana, that he purchased. V'yichya, and he raised it. V'tigadol imay, and this sheep was brought up with him. V'imbanav, with his children, yachtai, together. Mi pitoi toichal, he gave the sheep to eat from his food. Mikoisei tishta, drink from his cup. Ubecheikai tishkav, and lied together with him. Atilai kabas, and it was like him to be a daughter. Asked the Gemara, Mishon the becheikai tishkav. And again, this is referencing Esther because she lied together with him. Havish like a bas, she becomes like a daughter. What does that mean? Ella lebayis. Hachanami lebayis refers to the fact that he made Esther into his bias, into his house. Continues the psukim in the Megillah of Hashem and the Harais, and Esther had 7 maids. Amar Rava explains that Esther would count the days of the week for the 7 maids. And the pasuk, and of course, then she would know how to rest on Shabbos. And she changed her maids. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav, what does this mean? That she was able to get kosher food from Haggai, the head of all the maidens, and she gave her kosher food. No, they fed her a very kosher food. It wasn't kosher, but fatty hog bacon. Again, she was allowed to eat it. Obviously, and Rav Yechanan Amar, the third shot, zarainim, seeds, and this is where the minhag comes from, to eat seeds on parim. V'cheinu oimer via melter noises pass. As the pasuk says that the waiter took away the food, and what happened? But nice and lamb zarainim, and gave her seeds. And now the psukim continued again. We now have Esther preparing to go into Achashverosh. That for 6 months she was in this special type of oil, this shemen hamar, my shemen hamar. Rav Chia bar Abba Amar says, Rav Chia bar Abba, what was this oil? Sitachta. It was a balsam oil. Rav Huna Amar shemen zayis, olive oil. Shleivi shlish, immature olives, olive oil that didn't grow a third. Tani Rav Yehuda Aimer, anikfon shemen zayis. Anikfon is shemen zayis shloi hevi shlish. Lama sachin I say. So why did they anoint? Why was she sitting in a bath of olive oil? Shemashir sasar, would remove the hair from the body. Uma'adin es abasar, to make the skin to glow, and make the skin very nice and delicate. And the psukim continue. Barav yibal babakir yishava. Then the evening she would come, and the next morning she would return back to the house of the woman. Every person would be with Achashverosh for one night. night, each woman. From the terrible thing that he did, he slept with each and every girl for one night. We see the praise of Achashverosh. Why? We see he only slept with them at night. He did not have relations during the day. And now we see that Esther found favor in the eyes of Achashverosh. 10 lines on the bottom. First word in the line is Noises. Amar Rabbi Lazar. Everyone appeared like Esther to be their own nation, as we saw this already, and everyone took credit for her. But Tilakich Esther Samelech, and the pasuk says, and Esther was taken El Melech Achashverosh al Beis Malchusay to his palace. B'Chodesh Assyria in the 10th month, Chodesh Teves, in the month of Teves, Yerah Shana Guf Miguf. Why Teves? Because that's the month. It's cold, but the bodies warm each other. So it was a special, extra additional hana and benefit that Achashverosh got sleeping with Esther in the months of Teves. Continues the psukim, 6 lines to the bottom. V'eva Melech is Esther. And the king loved Esther Mikola Nashim all the woman v'tizachein v'chesed lefanov, and he found grace and favor in his eyes. Mikola b'sulos from all the virgins. Amar Rav, that what happened? Bikish lishlein tam b'sulatam tam b'ulatam. That Achashverosh, whatever he felt, whatever he wanted when he slept with Esther, whether he wanted to feel like a woman who already had relations, wanted to feel like the first time relations, that's what he felt with Esther Amalka. And 4 lines to the bottom it says v'yasamel mishtagadol. So the king Achashverosh finally finds his wife, finds Esther, and he makes a great party. Says the Gemara, why do you make a party? He made a party because he wanted Esther to say where she came from. He made a party and Esther did not reveal herself. And he started saying, okay, I'll take the taxes off of this nation and this nation. And still Esther did not reveal herself. Shadar Pardishna. He sent gifts into different nations. This is in honor of Esther, thinking that eventually she'll say, that's my nation. And again, she did not reveal where she was from. And then they gathered all the maidens the second time. Why do they gather them again? I don't understand. Achashverosh wanted Esther. So why does the psukim say that he started bringing back the girls again? The answer is that Achashverosh went and took advice from Mordechai. Omar, he asked Mordechai, he asked Mordechai, how could I get her to tell me where she's from? So Mordechai, thinking that maybe Achashverosh will find a different woman he likes more, he says a woman is only made jealous through another woman, so take another wife, he told Achashverosh. He's thinking Achashverosh will find the wife and Esther will go free. And still Esther did not say anything. And Esther Magedas Malata, she did not tell where she came from. And on the last line, Amar Rabbi Lazar, what is the meaning of the pasuk as we turn over to Yud Gimel Amebi? Says the pasuk, Hashem did not withdraw his eyes from the righteous. What exactly is referring to? Says the Gemara, Rachel. Once we're discussing the sneas, the modesty, we go into other stories that the sneas of Rachel, what happened, Shaul came from her. That's where Esther came from. What's the sneas of Rachel? Yaakov tells Rachel, what does Yaakov say? That I am the brother of your father. That's not true. That's not true at all. Rather, it's his father's sister. Yaakov asks Rachel, please marry me. Rachel responds, I'll marry you. Miu Abba Ramayu. My father is a Ramah, he's a deceiver. And he's not going to let me marry you. He's going to want my older sister Leah to marry you. Yaakov says, I know how to deal with such a person. So Rachel says to Yaakov, is a tzaddik allowed to act that way? Are you allowed to lie? Yaakov responds, yes, I'm never titabar. As the pasuk says, with a pure person, you're pure. And with a crooked person, you're crooked. Amar la. So Yaakov says to Rachel, what is the Ramayis that Lavan is going to use? Amralei. So Rachel responds, it's the Achasa de Geshisha Minai of an older sister Leah. And my father Lavan is not going to let me marry before my older sister Leah. So what does Yaakov do? Masla Simanim, he gives Rachel signs so that he knows that he'll indeed be marrying Rachel. Kimata Lelia, that fateful night comes. Amra Hashta Michsafa. But Rachel thinks, my sister, she's going to be embarrassed. She's not going to know the signs, and the whole plot's What's going to be revealed? My sister's going to be embarrassed. And this is the selfless act of Rachel giving away the simanim to her sister Leah. That's the meaning of the pasuk. Only in the morning does Yaakov Avinu realize it's Leah, because he didn't know, because Leah had the signs from his sister Rachel. Till now she wasn't Leah. Because Rachel gave the signs to Leah. Yaakov did not know until the morning. Because of this selfless and incredible act of Rachel to give away, she never knew she'd end up marrying Rachel. Shaul came out of her. And then what did Shaul do that he merited Esther? It says about Shaul, the matter of the kingdom, that Shmuel spoke. Asher Amar Shmuel, that Shmuel spoke, he did not tell. Zacha v'yatzemenu Esther. That's where Esther came from. V'amar Rav Elazar, we're on like the first medium, weird sized line. First word line is Rav Elazar. When Hashem gives good, the good filters down to all generations. Shenamar v'yishev lenetzach, for eternity. Vayagbi, and he raised and they raised them up and they're exalted. But if because Hashem gives you something good, you're going to become haughty, Hashem's going to lower you. If they're bound by chains. Now we're back to the psukim of the Megillah. We're on the first wide line. And the words of Mordechai Esther followed. This means that Esther, what did she do whenever she was anida, whenever she menstruated, whenever she saw dam? She would show that dam to the Chachamim to ask if she's indeed tar. Because what would she do? She was forced to sleep with Achashverosh, but then she would go back to be with Mordechai and wanted to make sure that she was tar. As she was raised with him, like we just explained, she would get up from being with Achashverosh, she would go to the Mikvah, and then she'd go back to Mordechai HaTzadik. And now the Megillah continues. In those days, Mordechai was sitting at the gate of the king. Kotzav, a big son Viseresh, got angry. Says Rav Chia bar Abba Rav Yechlan, Hashem himself, what does he do? He causes Adoin Alavoda of the master to be angry on his servant. Last place retain Tzaddik to fulfill the will of a Tzaddik. What's that referring to? Manu Yosef. That the master got angry at his servant. That's referring to Ishes Potifar, which eventually, of course, causes Yosef's ascent to power. And similarly, Avodim Hashem causes the servants to be incited on their master. Mordechai, this is Bigson and Sarish, lowly servants, and they're rebelling against the king. For what reason? So Mordechai could ascend to power. And the matter became known to Mordechai. How? They were both spoke from Tarshish, and that's how they would speak. They said, we never get to sleep. Achashverosh is calling us all night. One shot is, they said Achashverosh would have tashvish all night and we'd be very thirsty, so he kept on calling his servants for more drinks, and they were fed up. Bigson and Zeresh said, we're fed up, we want to get rid of this king. Let's go and put some poison in his drink, so he should die. And they thought they're talking Tarshish, and no one knows their language. They didn't know Mordechai like God says Mordechai is part of the Sanhedrin, knows all 70 languages. But Bigson and Sarah said, 1 second, there are two different posts that we watch, and they're not equal. So how is one of us going to slip away and put the poison in the king's drink? The other one responds, cover your base. Afterwards the king looked into it and saw indeed that the post was empty, seemingly, and therefore they were able to prove that they were the ones that tried to poison the king. We continue in the Megillah. We're on the third line after that. Taisus v'Tayvelah, smack in the middle over there. Third wide line says Achar Dvar Ma'ila. Says the Gemara, Achar Mai. What does this mean? After Hashem created the healing for the wound, Hashem never hits Klal Yisrael. There's always the remedy waiting. Such an incredible chizik that we have to take, that whenever something bad happens, realize and remember Hashem has the remedy, the pill, everything is waiting before even we get hurt. Remember the pasuk says, Kirafi Yisrael, as the pasuk says, Kirafi Yisrael v'nigla avoin Ephraim, when I heal Klal Yisrael, the iniquity of Ephraim will be revealed. When it comes to the Goyim, first Hashem hits them, and only afterwards does He create the refuah. First He hits them, and then He'll heal them. And the Megillah continues, and it was bad in his eyes to put his hands on Mordechai. That says Mordechai, and then it says Mordechai, and then it says all of Klal Yisrael. And this is Haman talking. Levadai explains the Gemara. Amar Rav B'Tzchila Mordechai. First Haman wanted to kill Mordechai. Levadai by himself. Ulu B'Saif Ba'am Mordechai. Then his nation Umanu Rabbanan. The Rabbanan together with Mordechai. Ulu B'Saif B'Cholai Yehudim. And finally he wanted to kill all of the Jews. He built Puris. What did Haman do? He cast a lottery. Who a Gairel? That is the Gairel. Tana we learned Kivich Navel Pur B'Chodesh Adar. The lottery lands on the month of Adar. Sameach Simcha Gedayla. Haman gets very happy. Amar Nafli Pur in a great month. The month that Moshe Rabbeinu died. Haman, you're silly. You forgot. Shiva Badar Meis. Papa Shiva Adar Naila. And Moshe Rabbeinu was also born in that month. Yeshna Yamecha says Haman. There is one nation. Amar Rav Aleka the other Lishna Bisha. Haman. There's no one that knows how to talk and to incriminate like Haman himself. Amar Lei. So Haman tells to Achashverosh, Tanach Linay, let us destroy the Jews. Amar Lei Mistafina Melukov. Achashverosh says, I'm afraid their God is so strong. So David become high. I don't want it to do what he did to my predecessors. We know that Hashem always kills everyone. So says Achashverosh, I'm nervous. Amar Lei says Haman Yeshna Min HaMitzvahs. No, they're very weak. The Yidden aren't doing mitzvahs. Don't have to be worried. They're being negligent. So Amar Lei Achashverosh responds again. Isbei Rabbanan. 1 second, there are the Rabbanan that are doing the mitzvahs. Amar Lei, we're having issues with the highlighting. Amar Lei. So Haman responds, Amecha, they're one nation. Meaning, even if the Rabbanan are doing mitzvahs, but they're all one bigger nation. Shema Taimer, maybe you'll say, Karchani Oisem Al-Chusecha. But now maybe you're going to say, wait, if I kill all the Yidden, there's going to be a bald spot in my kingdom. There's going to be a whole nation missing. Mifuzarin ain't binam, they're spread out everywhere. So don't worry, it's just going to be different people. Missing everywhere. Shema Taimar is Hanominai. But maybe you're going to say, but I get benefit for the Yidden. I don't want to kill them. Mefurad Kipreda Zushe Noisa Preda is like a mule. They give you nothing, Achashverosh. Shema Taimar make me Dinasaminai. Maybe there's one small town. I'm going to lose one of my provinces. Tamleimer Bachol Medinas Malchuzachel, they're spread out everywhere. But the same Shainais Mikolam and continues Haman that their laws are different from us. Lo Achliminan, they don't eat from us. Lo Nasaminan, they don't marry us. Lo Menats Vilan, and they don't let us marry them. And they don't follow the laws of the king. That they're always busy saying Shai and Pai. What does that mean? Shabbos Ayom, Yantif Ayom. Yidden always busy saying, I can't work today. It's Shabbos, it's Yantif. And continues Aman Ulamelch and Shavala Anichan, and there's no reason that you should leave them to Achli V'Shasi because they eat and they drink Umazila Malchus. And by the way, Achashverosh, they're Mevazah your kingdom. Why? Afilu Neifels of Bekaisai. What happens if a fly falls into a drink? Shalachar Mehem Zarka V'Shaisai. We take out the fly and we can drink the drink. But says Haman, V'Matayni Hamelech. Let's say you Achashverosh Naga Bekaisai. You touch the Yidden's wine. Shalachar Mehem Chayv Tai Bekarka. They throw the wine on the floor. V'Eno Shaisa, and they don't drink it. So he convinces Achashverosh how terrible the Yidden are. I will conclude with this. If Achashverosh, it's good, you should write to destroy them. 10,000 talents of silver. Hashem knows. Hashem knew that Haman was going to try to get 10,000 talents against Klal Yisrael. Again, he's mocked him the refuah, the healing. The Klal Yisrael preempts it by giving the shkalim. That in the beginning of Adar they would give the shkalim because it's preempted that even afterwards when Haman wants to destroy Klal Yisrael will have the schosim, and this is where the minhag comes to give the machzah shekel on Purim. We'll pick it up for Yimar HaMelech LaHaman in the next year. Amir Hashem.